the same time, I was leaving the country. At the same time, I was going through a separation. At the same time, I was relocating. And मेरे को पूरा अपना एजुकेशन का फील्ड ही चेंज करना पड़ा. The another.
Hello everyone. Today we have Dhruv with us, whose Sadhe Sati started when he was just 18 years old, and it got over in January 2023 this year. During the second phase of Sadhe Sati, Dhruv got addicted to tobacco, and he tried very hard, tried all the remedies to get rid of this addiction, but nothing helped. And coincidentally, as soon as his Sadhe Sati got over, he was very easily able to get rid of this addiction. Apart from this, he has had some really interesting experiences during the whole phase of Sadhe Sati, especially the second one. Stay tuned and watch the whole video. Welcome, Dhruvik. Welcome to Indian Vedic House. And thank you so much for taking time out to talk to us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I appreciate your efforts for doing this video interviews. It really helps us a lot.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'm really glad if people are liking it and it's helping them in any way.
Yeah,
So,
indeed.
yeah. So Dhruvik, I understand that you are right now 26 years old and you are a moon Sagittarius. Uh, your moon sign is also Sagittarius, as well as your ascendant sign is also Sagittarius. And
Sagittarius, yeah.
yeah, and you just finished your Sadhe Sati in the month of January this year. So your Sadhe Sati started when you were just 18 and a half years old. So how was the whole experience of Sadhe Sati for you?
I would say like the first phase of the Sadhe Sati of 2.5 years and the other half phase of Sadhe Sati of about 1.5 year was pretty smooth for me. It was no mental pressure, no depression, nothing at all. But things started to turn out about November 2018 when I was going through a peak phase of Saturn Mahadasha. Sorry, not Mahadasha, Saturn Sadhe Sati. I would say the second phase. At that point, three major changes happened to me. The first one was that I lost my relationship with my partner, and we got separated out. Like it was just a relationship. I'm still not married yet, so I'm unmarried, but um, we were in relationship since a long time, and it affected me really badly. So it was very unfortunate scenario for me. The other thing that happened with me is that I got admission in Concordia University here in Montreal, Canada, and I got admission in electrical engineering. So I moved to a different country to pursue my master's over here. And at the same time, what happened is that when I landed over here and I finished my first semester, at that point I realized that I'm not getting to choose the subjects which I really like to study for my personal interest, like the core electrical subjects. They were not over here. The environment of the university over here is that they are building up the electricals even with the help of computer science. So they asked me to choose the subjects from the which includes the coding and programming and the other things, which were not my interest at all from the beginning. So that's why I had a fear that if I will continue this master's in electrical, I will not be able to pursue my master's. And just because of that fear, I know that fear was just because of the Saturn Sadhe Sati eventually. If I talk about the relocation to Canada, it was pretty struggling phase for me in first 6 months because when I came over here, it was January, and the winter was very harsh over here. Like the temperature was minus 26 degrees Celsius at that point when I landed to the city. And my first job as an international student over here in a different country I did was snow shoveling. I was literally used to go for night shift in the downtown of my city and shovel off the snow from the streets. So it was very labor job that I did. I used to also go to distribute newspapers in other people's houses. Then I used to go to different warehouses and factories as for doing my part-time job. So, and also I had many issues with the accommodation. Like I was not getting a house initially to survive over here. So it was a pretty struggling phase for me. And at the same time, just because I'm having a moon in my lagna, Saturn is directly aspecting my moon as well. So it was affecting me from emotional perspective as well, that I was not able to concentrate at all in my studies, and it was giving me a hard time to go through. And if I talk about the last phase of Sadhe Sati, It turned out to be very, very fruitful and rewarding for me because the last phase of Sadhe Sati just finished on this year. And as soon as I finished my studies, it took me about 6 months to find a job. And you will be surprised to know that again, I had to change my stream to find a job. Right now, I'm working as IT analyst in a consulting firm. So I did my bachelor's in electrical, master's in quality systems, and right now I'm working in IT sector. So that's just वही शनिदेव की कृपा है कि सब कुछ चेंज करवा देते हैं time to time. So
Right.
I know this is not what I expected when I came to Canada. I expected to work in electrical, my core field, but मेरे से हो ही नहीं पाया. The circumstances ऐसे ही बनते गए कि I couldn't. And then I was very, very fortunate enough to invite my parents over here in Canada. Like वो इंडिया से यहाँ पे आके 6 months visit करके गए. I traveled to a few countries over here. I was able to purchase my own car and pay off my loan on that. And recently this year, just right after finish of my Sadhe Sati, like January 24, Sadhe Sati got finished, and February 3rd this year, I got my permanent residency in this country.
So is it fair to say, Dhruvik, that the first phase you really did not see much difference of going through Sadhe Sati, but in the
Yeah.
second phase you did have some emotional stress, emotional challenges because of the hardships that you were going through, a lot of changes that you were going through, but at the same time the hardships that you went through during that time, they eventually helped you because you finally
A
got
lot,
educated,
a lot.
you were able to move to
Because
Canada.
yeah. Because if I think back to that time, during 2019 and 2020, I'm very, very fortunate to have that time in my life. Because अगर मैं वो phase से गुजरा ही नहीं होता, तो I would not have value of money. I would not have value of what it really feels to have a life over here.
And then you
Yeah.
said the last phase of Sadhe Sati was actually good for you. So if we see your chart, when it was in your 12th house and when it was in your second house, 12th house, it did not influence much. In the second house,
No.
it actually blessed you, especially also with wealth, right? I mean, you were able to pay off
Yeah.
your loan, buy a car, get house and all that. Only when it was in your first house, I mean, as per moon sign also and as per ascendant sign also, that was the phase of 2.5 years where you went through some struggle.
Challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were also for some good reasons. So I think it's fair to say that Sadhe Sati itni buri nahi thi. I mean, this is one case where we can say that Sadhe Sati also blesses you with a lot of things and brings a lot of positive changes. Temporary hardships were there, emotional challenges must really have been there क्योंकि अपना देश छोड़ के जाकर किसी और country में unknown being, feeling that feeling of loneliness, that isolation, separation happened for you, like detachment from your own
Yeah.
country. So वो सब चीजों ने definitely परेशान किया होगा. But I think now when you look back, what is the feeling that you have about Sadhe Sati?
I would say there are multiple takeaways to take from Sadhe Sati, but the first is that it turned me really, really into a good spiritual person. Because as I was talking before कि मैं जब इंडिया में था मेरे को like I was not spiritual person at all. Like मेरे पेरेंट्स स्पिरिचुअल है और मैं अभी जो रिलीजन फॉलो करता हूँ वो रिलीजन मेरे भाई बॉर्न I was fortunate to have that religion which I passed on to me by my parents. But मैं कुछ भी नहीं करता था. No puja पाठ at all, no उपवास, व्रत, nothing at all. जब मैं यहाँ पे आया और when I was going through the struggles, at that time I realized the importance of God and the importance of spirituality. And when I came to Canada, interestingly, at the same time, it started to have that interest in astrology. Ki I just want to exactly know. My only reason to learn astrology was that I just wanted to know the time frame and the situation of planets at that point, that when the exact date I separated from my partner, what was the planetary situations in space that made that separation to happen. Because मैं उस टाइम पे बहुत ही डिस्टर्ब था mentally. And just because of that, with one motivation, it was not a spiritual motivation at all. I totally accept that. And just because of that one motivation, I started to learn astrology from YouTube and the other videos and books and all.
Thanks for sharing that beautiful explanation, Dhruvik. Also, it is said that when you are going through Sadhe Sati, people who have no more business in your life, they get separated from you. because you have already settled your karma score with them, and new people come into your life जिनके साथ अभी आपके karma balance करने के
बाकी है.
हुए. So now that that long term relationship broke during that time, now when you introspect, do you think कि वो होना ही था? I mean, you were done with that relationship. Do you feel like that?
Right now, every single time whenever I'm watching any kind of astrological videos or reading any birth charts, there is only one thought in mind that if अगर वो सेपरेशन नहीं हुआ होता तो अगर मैं एस्ट्रोलॉजी सीखने के लिए मोटिवेट ही नहीं होता और अगर आज मैं वो देख नहीं रहा होता. So I'm at the same time I'm still feeling sad sometimes that it happened, but at the same time I'm feeling very fortunate enough कि हाँ जो भी हुआ अच्छा के लिए हुआ.
And then were you able to get into another relationship after that?
Oh, no. I'm still single and I'm looking forward to come to India maybe this year or next to find a life partner for me.
Perfect. I hope you find a good one very soon.
Yeah.
And while you were going through the tough phase, the second phase of Sadhe Sati Dhruvik, I know you got inclined towards astrology, and that helped you a lot in acceptance and stop blaming others. And we get a lot of answers to the questions which were unanswered before we get into astrology. But apart from all this, were you doing any remedies also?
Yes. When I was going through a peak phase, I used to do, I guess, 7 different jap malas for 7 different planets at the same time.
Okay.
And I used to do Hanuman Chalisa before sleep, and I used to go to mandir every once a week just because to get that connection with the god.
Perfect. And now that your Sadhe Sati is over, you mentioned that it got over in January, and in February you got your permanent residency. Apart from that, have you seen any other drastic positive differences once your Sadhe Sati
Yeah.
got over?
What I feel is that I'm very fortunate and blessed person to have Rahu Guru Dasha right after the Sadhe Sati, and just because of the Rahu Guru Mahadasha, I'm building myself very spiritually. So I would say I'm very lucky and fortunate to have that in my life. So it's going very good for me as of now, but let's see what future holds for me.
I'm glad to hear that positive changes are happening in your life. Even though you're going through Rahu Mahadasha, you are seeing a lot of positive impact.
Yeah.
So glad to hear that. And thank you so much, Dhruv, for sharing your experience. I think after so many interviews, this is one where I see a lot of positive results in the Sadhe Sati. I'm sure is going to be
Yeah, it was negative for me, but at the same time, I don't call it negative because there were a lot of learnings.
I think, like we say, all is well that ends well.
Yeah.
It fits very well with the experience of Sadhe Sati. So we all at the end are thankful that we went through all those hardships and frustrating, irritating, disappointing time period, because we come out of Sadhe Sati as an entirely different person, and we all are thankful for that. So thank you, Dhruvik. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying with us and watching the video. I hope you really liked the whole experience of Sadhe Sati, and somewhere it breaks the myth that Sadhe Sati is very hard, causes a lot of negative changes in the life, because we heard and learned from Dhruvik that even though the middle phase of the Sadhe Sati was a little challenging for him, overall it was not really that bad, and it also brought some really positive changes in his life. So I hope it gives a lot of hope to people who are already going through Sadhe Sati or are expecting Sadhe Sati in the near future. So if you like the video, do not forget to like, share, and to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.